story for you this week. So let's get comfy in those seats and let's read our story. So this week's story is called The Walls Come Tumbling Down. Joshua and his army had surrounded the city of Jericho, ready to capture it. God told Joshua what to do. Every day for the next 7 days, I want you to march your army around the city. Behind the soldiers, put 7 priests carrying trumpets. At the end of each week, you will all march round 7 times with the priests blowing their trumpets. At the last blast of the trumpets, I want all the army to shout as loudly as they can. Then the walls of the city will collapse and you can capture it easily. Joshua told the army exactly what to do. For 6 days, they all marched silently round the city. The people of Jericho watched this strange procession in disbelief. They wondered how Joshua's army could possibly capture their city this way, but they did not know about God's promise. Then on the 7th day, Joshua said, God will give us this city if we shout with all our strength. Remember not to kill Rahab and her family in the house with the scarlet cord hanging from the window. Do not steal anything for yourselves, but bring everything valuable you capture back to me for God's treasury. So for the 7th time, the army marched round the city. The trumpets sounded, the men yelled with all their might. The walls of the Jericho came tumbling down, and it was easy for the army to leap over the rubble and capture the city. But they spared Rahab, who had believed that God was their true God. The Israelites had begun to capture the promised land. Wow! So the army had to march round this big, huge, high wall, and on the 7th day, God told them to blast their trumpets and give a big shout, and the walls would come down. But did you know that when they were walking round this wall, it seemed like something impossible? Because the walls were almost as high as a double-decker bus and as wide at the bottom as an adult man lying down. The walls were about 12 feet high and 5 feet 9 wide, so about 6 foot, about a man's height wide. And they were just walking round and round these walls, and they thought, how is that going to make these walls fall? But they didn't know God's plan. And God can do amazing things with such ease. Something that's so difficult to us and to our brains to think about, God can do it dead easy. Isn't that amazing? But you need to do what God says, and that's what happened. The Israelites did exactly what they were told. They marched around for 6 days in silence, and then the last day they marched round, and when they were finished, they tooted their horns and they gave a big shout out, and the walls just came tumbling down. Isn't that so cool? So we'll do a little bit of a craft, will we? So we've got the wall of Jericho, and the Israelites walked around and around and around 6 times, and on the 7th time they started walking round, and when they got to the end they gave a big toot on their horn and a big shout, and the walls came tumbling down. Isn't that amazing? Well, I enjoyed that story, and I hope you have fun with the craft. And I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.